Hello again, this is Brian Copeland talking. Welcome to another edition of Copeland's Corner, a distinguished panel, as always. Two of our regulars and regular contributors to the program. Tom Sawyer, who is our executive producer, is joining us. Yayne Abeba, who is also a contributor, who does wonderful commentaries and sits in for me when I can't do it. And Brent Weinbach, why don't you have a job with us? Why are you not working with us regularly?
Give me a job. I'll take it. You know?
The pay is
what do you got for me?
the pay is really, really good.
Go. Okay.
It's really, really good. It's got a picture of Art Linkletter on the money. That's how good the pay. That's
and for Norton.
And for you kids, Art Linkletter, never mind. All right, lots and lots to talk about. Let's start with the ugly stuff. It's all ugly. Well, let's start with the ugly stuff first. You have a number of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's victims who are holding a press conference, or held a press conference this morning. This morning being Wednesday. If you're just joining us, we record Wednesdays. We drop the show on Thursday, so you're seeing this Thursday. And they held a press conference that was put together in a bipartisan fashion by Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna and Republican Congressman Thomas Massie. And there are 100 victims, who are asking why Trump is trying so hard to protect Maxwell and to protect criminals, and demanding that he come out and make the statement, under no circumstances will I pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. And he so far has refused to come out and do that. Gee, wonder why. So among some of the things that, and you'll read more about this, and probably read more about this before you see this podcast. They're saying, the victims are saying, look, and there's one victim in particular who's got a podcast. Her name is Lisa Phillips, and she's a survivor who's got a podcast. And she says, if they won't come out with the full list and the list of names, you know what? We're going to do it. Because all the victims, we were there. We know who was there. And we know what it is that they did. And we will just pool our resources and we'll come up with our own list and we'll release it. Now, on the flip side of this, you have Trump saying the reason that he is not released, even though they campaigned on this, is because of the innocent people who might be hurt. Now, mind you, his name appears in the files 1,000 times. They have actually, or more than that. There's like 1,000 FBI agents or something is what I read, that they had to have go through the files to redact his name. Exactly. 1,000 in order to take his name out. But it's all innocent. And Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, met privately with the survivors and with the House Oversight Committee prior to the press conference today, and it released 33,000 files. And the 33,000 files that he released are 33,000 files that the Justice Department had already released. So the same 33,000 files. Right. So my question for you is this. Does Trump survive this? Do you see Trump? I mean, he's been Houdini. He's got.
Does he literally survive this?
Does he literally? I don't mean, does he drop dead? I mean, does his presidency survive this?
I don't know, because he really is Teflon Don. But I think this is going to be the one that takes him down, because Marjorie Taylor Greene's
turned on him.
And she was acting with civility. Like she started as the QAnon person, that's how she got her claim to fame.
That's right.
And I think she's really like one of those sociopaths that's committed to the conspiracy. So I think her and the other like MAGA ones, I think that they're going to help take him down. And JD's already working to take him down because he thinks it's his moment to shine.
But here's the question: if he, let's say something happens to Trump, God forbid, and let's say that he has to resign and has to step down, can Vance hold MAGA together? It's a cult of personality. He's an empty suit.
No. Nobody in the Republican Party can hold it together, because it's all about Trump. He's the king. Nobody's going to be able to put this together. In fact, they turn on JD Vance in the New York second. Trump dies, there'll be conspiracies that JD Vance was poisoning him every day, and
They will.
or other people in
They
his
will.
cabinet who are all jealous of the king.
Mhm.
No, it's all about Trump. When he goes, it's going to be like an Agatha Christie novel. There'll be each of these guys will be trying to murder the other guy. It'll be Knives Out all over again.
You know, you said it that he's king. I think that if God or Jesus Christ was on the Epstein list,
Yeah.
he would survive it. People, it doesn't matter really Trump can survive anything, you know, within his community, you know. So even if Trump actually died and his spirit would survive or whatever, you know what I mean? In fact, I actually kind of think maybe his body would survive too. I mean,
Actually, according to MAGA, if he dies, he'll rise on the third day.
yes, he'll become one with the orange sun. I think his body must be made. I think his body is made of spray-on tan that has probably pretty good preservatives in it. You know, like it's almost like he's naturally embalmed or something already. You know, so yeah, he'll survive. He'll physically survive, even though his mind will be dead, and his worshipers will continue to worship him. It doesn't matter what he can do. No wrong. It doesn't matter if it's
Yeah, but here's why I would disagree with you on this. Normally, I would agree, but there's something different about this. I mean, you had MAGA people who were there were a whole slew of viral videos last month of MAGA people burning their MAGA hats over Epstein. You know, people taking blowtorches to them or putting a bunch of MAGA hats on their Weber barbecues and hitting them with lighter fluid because he campaigned on this. You know, they're the ones that campaigned. Kash Patel, all of them, they campaigned on this last year.
Oh, yeah.
They would make sure that Biden was hiding people and blah, 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 blah. And then just like the eggs going down, nothing happened with this. And it's obvious why. I mean, there are just two.
Can't blame it on Biden this time.
No, well, you know, but here's
It's Trump's the one who's Trump's putting the stop sign up. Nobody else but Trump is. He keeps saying, now he's saying it's a Democratic hoax that they want to release the information. You know, it's like that
Obama wrote it. Obama wrote the Epstein files.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. There are stupid people who will never, ever, ever be convinced that their Lord is not perfect. But you don't need for those people all to be convinced. All you need is about 7 to 10% of them, and that's happening. You know, and that's what's going to cause a landslide because he's already lost the independents. I mean, he's getting crushed by the independents in the polls.
Yes, he is.
So and 25% of Republicans don't like him. So if that number keeps going up, then you're going to see, even with all their tricks and all their gerrymandering and all their nonsense, they're still going to get crushed in the midterms. And now you're seeing like Joni Ernst saying goodbye. You know, that puts in Iowa in play.
Well, it's more than that in terms of Iowa. You want to look at how bad it is. Okay, yeah, Joni Ernst, who you knew once she made that stupid comment about that Medicaid town hall meeting about we were going to die. Oh, we're all going to die. I mean, that was it. She wrote her epitaph right there. I mean, that's it.
We want you to die faster.
that will be in her obituary. That line will be in her obituary. I guarantee that line will be in her obituary. But also in Ruby Red, Iowa. There was a special election that was held over the weekend for a seat in the state legislature where there's a Republican supermajority and a Democrat won. It was a safe seat. And a Democrat won, and a Democrat won by a lot. You have a Democrat by the name of Rob Sand, who was running for governor in Iowa, and he's doing very well. He did 10 town hall meetings this weekend, and most of the Republicans who are in office, who the majority of office holders in Iowa are Republicans, they're not holding town hall meetings. Then you look at what happened in Iowa. You had I'm trying to see Barry Moore. Barrymore, who is, I believe, a congressman from the state of Alabama. Did you see the video of this guy? They're asking him questions, and he's giving the same line of shit and not answering the question, and they're booing him and they're chanting him down. This is in Alabama, and it's so bad that he sneaks out then sneak out. He walks out the back door. He crawls with his tail between his legs out the back door. So when you've lost to Alabama, I mean, it's not, whew.
What I loved about that Alabama one was that they were all like coming at him like he was a 2-year-old who did something really wrong. Who pays the tariffs?
Yeah.
Who pays the tariffs? It's like, that's like when you talk to a child and you're like, what did I tell you? What did I tell you?
And it's just, and it's typical crap. Who pays the tariffs? Well, if you look at these statistics for how the economy, no. Who pays the tariffs? It was raining yesterday. I mean, it's just anything except that's in the question. And in the past, that might have worked. Not right. It did work. And not just for Republicans. But all right, let me ask you this question. There are obviously and clearly prominent Democratic names in those files. I guarantee you that Alan Dershowitz is in those files. I guarantee you.
I don't know if he's a Democrat.
Is he a Democrat?
Yeah.
No.
Well, one of the victims today.
He got OJ off. Anybody help get OJ off has got to be.
One of the victims at the press conference today was like, and then he took me to Africa with Bill Clinton, and then she caught herself, but it was too late. She had said it, and I was like, you know what? Good. If he did it, I want him to go down too.
Absolutely.
Like, take them all down.
That's the difference.
And I loved Clinton and loved the Clinton presidency. I met Bill and had dinner with Bill Clinton when he was in office. And if he was part of this, when you're a pedophile, when you do things to kids, you lose me. I don't care. I don't give a shit if you cured cancer yesterday. If I find out that the day before yesterday you molested a 5-year-old, I don't care that you cured cancer yesterday.
Now, were the victims, were they 5 years old or were they 16, 17?
16, 17.
14. As young as 12. There's a young man who alleges at the age of 11, Mango Mussolini did something.
So they got boys too.
Yeah.
That I didn't know. That's history.
A young man named Charles Bacon who alleges that he was assaulted by Velveeta Voldemort.
And
at the age of 11.
Now, people are
it's hard for me to say his actual name. It's very hard.
Were there a lot of people in the list or that were that are in the files that were not really aware of the dark things that were happening and were just sort of hanging out at the island, or what? They were just kind of, doing margaritas or whatever?
I say, personally, my feeling about it is I'll give you a pass if you were there one time.
Yeah.
But if you're there more than once and you saw what was going on the first time, there's no way you're going back.
No, I agree. I'm with you too, because it was a private plane to get there in a private airstrip. So if you went once, it wasn't like you could hop on a United flight and go, I'm getting the hell out of here. You couldn't go until the plane
you had to wait till the plane left.
But you come back, and if you're on that manifest, what did they say? Trump's on that manifest something like at least 7 times or 8 times.
7 or 8 times.
7 or 8 times, but there are a couple of problems, and one of which is that Jeffrey Epstein's brother has been talking and giving interviews and saying things that his brother told him about Trump. But Jeffrey Epstein, aside from being a pedophile, was a liar and lied about a lot of things. So who knows what we can believe and what we can't? I believe these women who are talking about they were 15, 16 years old and were groomed and thought that they were getting a wonderful job with this billionaire, only to discover that they had to give him naked massages and happy endings and all this other kind of stuff.
Getting paid and bullied to bring friends into the loop as well.
Yeah.
But what about Michael Wolff, who met with Epstein and was shown pictures when he was
First
doing
time memory, Michael Wolff.
Michael Wolff is the biographer who
wrote The Art of the Deal?
Yeah. And no, not Art of the Deal. He wrote, what did he write? It was, I don't know. He did a biography of Trump.
He goes through one of his books.
Of Epstein, right? And he met with Epstein, and he's said in several interviews that he saw pictures of Trump with half-clothed young girls on his lap and a stain on his front of his
Whoa.
pants that they were all pointing at and laughing. And he saw other evidence that he assumes that the FBI sees this because Epstein had a safe full of photographs, and a lot of them were of Trump.
All right, let's go down the conspiracy rabbit hole. Do you think Epstein killed himself?
No.
Well, if he did, it's the most convenient suicide in the history of suicides. And all the circumstance, the gods were sleeping, the cameras happened to be off in that time.
Now,
It's
3
like-
seconds.
It's like, you really, come on, seriously. No, this guy's so powerful and got so much shit on so many powerful people in the world. It's that would be the most convenient accident ever.
All right, let's
Oop,
put
I
this
slip
in.
and hit my head on this bullet.
Did,
All right, let's put this in a common person's experience. I'll ask the three of you. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Has there ever been something that you were invited to, a party or a gathering or a get together, and you go there and it's not what you thought that it was, and were you invited a second time? And the second time you were invited, did you go back? Can you think of anything like that? I can think of a couple of things where I went to, and
Yeah,
it was
Doug
like,
Ferrari
whoa.
parties.
Let's drop names. Let's not drop names. Let's not drop names.
I'm joking, Doug.
But is there? I can think of a couple of instances over the course of my career where I got invited to parties, like somebody in the audience or somebody in the wait staff. Hey, we're gonna have to you go there, and it's like, whoa, all right, I guess I'll call a cab. So
I've worked with shady bookers before. I mean, I've done gigs where nobody here, but I've done gigs where they were kind of shady, and then they lured me in with another gig. I've done and I've even thought, I shouldn't do this gig again another gig by this person because they were kind of shady in the way they paid me in the past. But I thought, well, maybe they turn a new leaf or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I've put myself, I've shamed on me, before, like but it worked out, but it's, I think I've gone back, to stuff that seemed kind of shady, but
For comedy.
yeah, for comedy.
yeah, but that's business.
Sure it is, but it's kind of
business.
similar. It's like, I should probably, the wiser thing would be to just not work with that person again or whatever, but so I guess my thought is, yeah, if I saw a boy at a show and he shouldn't have been there, and maybe he's massaging the booker's feet or something like that.
Mhm.
If I saw that, I guess I
Are
probably.
you telling us, Brent, that you don't really go to parties?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to relate to the situation because I never get invited, But if trying to think,
somebody
if
sees
I got
anybody.
invited to a party and I saw boys there massaging feet. I mean, I guess if it was just feet, maybe I'd go back.
I will
But if
tell
it
you
was more than just feet, then I might have to stay home the next time. Yeah.
Yeah.
my one experience that pops into my mind when I was 19 years old. I met I did a one-nighter gig up here in the Bay Area with Sam Kinison before anybody knew who Sam was, before you knew who Sam was, I think, even Tom. And we were playing this one-nighter. It was a string of one-nighters in these, the Hungry Hunters, which were kind of like Black Angus and stuff like that. One night, each different thing. And he liked me. He took a liking to me. So he invites me to come to LA. And it's the first time I had gone to LA to the Comedy Store. And again, nobody knew who Sam was. Sam was on this before he exploded and became a superstar. He was the last comic on. They would put him on at something like 1:30 because he walked the audience if they put him on early. I mean, I remember I remember the bit he's doing stuff like the last thing Elvis ever heard. Elvis? Come on, Elvis, I gotta go. Elvis! And people are going, come on, hang on, let's go. So There was a place up the street. There was a coffee shop up the street called Ben Frank's. I don't know if it's still there or not. This is years ago. Except I was like 18, 19
I
years old.
remember Ben Frank.
You
Yeah.
remember Ben Frank's?
Yeah.
And so Sam goes, come have some breakfast with me and my friends. So I go and it's him and there's this big bald guy and this big stocky bald headed guy and like five really young, really kind of scantily clad young women. And again, I'm a 19-year-old just out of Catholic school. Literally just graduated from Catholic school. And so he starts talking about this bald guy starts talking about his church. And he would love it. It's a very special church and they look at it, worship a certain way. And he would love it if I would come to one of, they're going to have a service in about an hour, in fact. If I would like to come up in the Hollywood Hills to this, and again, dumb 19. Yeah, sure. Okay. Oh, church. Yeah. So I go up there and I'm not going to go into detail, but I walk in and this ain't like any church I'd ever been in. And I just walked in and I just saw some stuff that was just, and I can't remember how I got out of there, but eventually I did. It was a deal where I had to either wait for somebody to give me a ride or something and got out. And so the next night at the show, I wasn't performing, I was just hanging out with Sam. The guy's back again and invites me to come back again. And I said, oh, I'm not feeling well. And the rest of the time I was there, he invited me every night and I said no. So that's because I was so creeped out and so grossed out by what it was I saw.
You don't want to go into detail?
I don't want to go into detail. No,
because I'm kind of thinking I want to hear those details.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that too. Yeah,
I figure you probably might, but it's not that kind of podcast.
Were their feet being massaged?
I think
there were a lot of things that were being massaged.
Yeah, I think this could be.
You did actually see some massaging of parts.
I'm sorry?
You saw some massaging of parts?
I saw a lot of things that a 19-year-old Catholic boy just out of Catholic school made me very, very, very uncomfortable. I'd have blushed had I known how. We'll put it that way. Yeah. So I didn't go back. And so that's the closest that I would put to this Epstein situation. If I had gone there once and saw the things that are alleged to have occurred, and then next week, hey, we're going to go back to the island.
Yeah. There's like people
I'm a woman, so it's different for me. Yeah. So I'm paranoid from the jump. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go to someone's house if I don't know them very well and I don't really know the circumstances of that, because I have had situations where I thought I knew the person and I get there and it's like a straight up orgy and I'm like, I gotta go. And just like people, like people,
and that's about what those are the details I'm not giving. That's what it was. That's what this church was. It was an orgy. That's what it was.
It's always the people who shouldn't be naked, who are the ones who are naked when you walk in the room, who are just like, hey, and you're like, yeah, no, I'm gonna get an Uber and bathe in hand sanitizer, get away from me. So
bathe in it, boil me in it.
Yeah.
Boil me in
no, because with women, we get tried in a whole different way. So we're way more paranoid. Plus, my grandfather was a cop, so he made all of the women in the family really paranoid. We always think people are trying to do something to us. So I've always been really careful, and I still found myself in certain situations where I was like, okay, let's go. No, thank you, don't touch me. I said, don't touch me.
Yeah.
So,
all right, Tom, you were a club owner. You had all kinds of people and movers and shakers coming into your club. You had, anybody who was worth performing at your club. You had to have been invited to some stuff.
Oh, I was invited.
And you live in Marin. And now you live in Marin.
Yeah, this is way. The Marin today is not like the Marin of the
cereal. Remember cereal?
Yeah, there was I remember coming to. I went through a phase of studying tantra for a while, and you'd go to a place hoping to learn something, and there would always be like a couple of people that had to get naked, and even though there was nothing about the event that was about naked, and everybody wants to be cool and go, hey, nobody wants to go, put your fucking clothes on, you idiot. So those things I just bow out. But there was like one time I had a really good radar for creeps. So I would, bow out of creepy stuff, like the guys from the Mitchell brothers, the Mitchell brothers, would come
Jim
to
and
Cobb's.
Artie. Jim and Artie.
Jim, they would come to Cobb's.
I heard.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I got invited a lot by, was it Arnie was the big guy, the one who got killed?
The one that got killed, I think it was Jim shot Artie, right? I think.
Yeah. So Arnie was the big one. He would do like 10 Manhattans and still be standing in an hour and a half because he was so full of coke. But, you know, I'd always get invited. He always had a couple girls with him. And I'd be like, no, thanks. You know, and, you know, do it in a nice way because, you know, I wanted his business. So I'm not an idiot.
Well, they were San Francisco. They were San Francisco legends, the Mitchell brothers.
And they were legends. And we actually did some stuff at their club that was a lot of fun that I'll talk about someday on the show that had nothing to do with sex. Not really.
Then what was the point? I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
There's no point.
Not really.
It's good.
I don't care.
It was a lot of fun.
Mitchell Brothers story with no sex. I don't care.
Larry Brown was there. That's all. Yeah. So anyways, there was one guy I will never forget. It's like there's been a handful of people in my life that you just get the ultimate sense this is a bad dude, you know. And there was a guy that came to the club, somebody knew him, and he was like, hey, why don't you come to this party we're having, you know, it'll be a lot of fun. You know, he said that word fun in a way that like made the hair on my arm stand up. And he just gives off that like Joe Pesci, Goodfellas vibe. Like, you know, and I was like, nah, you know, really. He goes, what's the matter? You know, one of those things where you go, what's the matter? Why don't you want to come to my party? You know, and it wasn't, and the look he gave me, like, I was like, holy fuck, how do I get out of this? You know, it's sort of like what Joe Pesci did with Ray Liotta about, you know, how am I funny? Am I funny like a clown?
That's
funny,
a great scene.
You know. But it was that same vibe where everybody around was a little quiet. Like, what happened? And like the volume got shut off in the rest of the room. And I'm trying to wiggle out of this without insulting the guy. But that was one of the, I didn't even need to go to the party. I knew the party was going to be a bad place to go. You know, I got to close up here. I got, hey, you can come afterwards. I got to get up early. I'm golfing tomorrow. Oh, excuse me. You know, my invite to a party's not good for a guy like you, Mr. Important. You know, and it's like, and finally he just left in a huff. And I'm like thinking, I mean, later on, I was like actually worried about, I wanted to leave the club with somebody because it seemed like he was the kind
so there would be two buddies
that would come with a baseball bat, very insulted about, you know, I mean, there was that vibe. It was really, it stayed with me forever.
So you're not going to the island to begin with, and neither is Yayne. I mean, they're basically, you guys are ready, and I'm the same way. So if something seems, I'm not going for once even, you know, I'm not, you know, to something that seems kind of sketchy, I'm not going to go in the first place. I mean, you know, Brian.
Okay, but what seems sketchy about this, Brent? Here's the deal, though. Here is a billionaire whose picture is always on page 6 and always in the tabloids, who's inviting you to go to an island he owns on his private plane. Now, unless you knew that he was a pedophile scumbag, if some billionaire today said, hey, I saw your act, I think that you're really funny. Hey, you know what? I own this private island. Why don't you come out and hang out with us for a weekend?
That's a good.
I got a private plane. I'll fly you. You would go if you were free.
I actually probably wouldn't go to the island unless I was going to get, if it was a job, you know what I mean? Like if a billionaire said, hey, I like your act, come hang out on my island, I probably wouldn't go to just hang out. I would probably go, I need to be working somehow. I said, is it a gig? You know, I'll do it. I'll do the gig, you know?
But you're going to pay me for the gig, for the comedy gig, that is.
And then I go there, have to perform in front of a bunch of naked people and stuff. Well, I guess I would do it if it paid well, you know?
I hear that what's it called? It's like that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying my cousin, she used to be a model in New York, and she and her friend who was signed to Bad Boy Records at the time were hanging out with some other rappers from Bad Boy at a club. And then they were like, oh, and then Puffy came up and said, oh, we're all going to go to this hotel. Come on. And she said, Noriega grabbed her and said, you know what happens at those hotels, right? And my cousin was like, no. And he told her, and she's like, ugh. okay. He's like, let me get a driver to take you home. And he made sure she went home. But her friend went, but her friend knew and was down. Like, um, but she felt like he saved her. And like she bumped into him
Shows what
years
he did.
later in Vegas, and she was with her husband who used to play for the Titans. And she was like, and he was like, oh, of course I knew you were going to be like the good girl who married the football player. But like she said, if it weren't for Noriega, she doesn't know what would have happened to her because she wasn't even thinking, that wasn't even on her radar. Like her good friend is signed to the label and is like, come on, let's go.
Mhm.
You know, and her friend had been to his parties before and wasn't warning her. So she thought everything was going to be fine because she's with
Mhm.
someone who's protecting her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it turned out that Noriega was like, nope, let me get a car to take you back to your apartment. You are not going. So he saved
Mhm.
her.
And so
basically.
see that it really kind of proves our point, and that is that if you went once, there is a possibility you did not know what was going to transpire.
Well, I guess I wonder if
But
when you're there at the island, I wonder what you're seeing there, though. You know what I mean? Are the kids out on display? You know what I mean? Or do they have a
it was
showcase?
private rooms, is my understanding. Is that right? Or private huts or cabanas or something like that.
So, okay, I'm just wondering if
Like on the South Park episode.
Like that's what I keep thinking of. The South Park. By the way, I just want to give them a shout out. By the way, I just think they're brilliant. The fact that they sign a $1.5 billion deal with Paramount, and then it's like, screw you, and they're doing what they want. It's like, fire us, fine. You can pay us $1.5 billion for nothing. I mean, I just and they're just going balls out. But anyway, I'm sorry. But you were
Well,
saying.
I just was wondering if there's people who went there who didn't see anything and they just went there to relax on a private island, I guess, or whatever. I mean,
Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's telling about, I mean, the best I've heard is like Dershowitz going, I had a massage, but I had my underwear on. You know, like that's the best thing. It's like,
he did say that, didn't he? That's
did.
exactly what he said.
He did. But dude, it's like it was a 16-year-old girl that was giving you the massage. You creep.
Okay, but and I will and maybe this is willing suspension of disbelief from my theater background. Is it possible that you didn't realize that the massage therapist at the billionaire's island that the billionaire flew you to on his private jet to his private airstrip would have an underage massage therapist?
Yeah.
Now, was
But-
sexual?
but-
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
There's been no point in my life where I didn't know a 16-year-old girl was a 16-year-old girl, even when I was a 16-year-old boy.
See what? Here's why I don't buy that. Here's why. Here's why. Well, actually, you might have, but like you owned a comedy club. I owned a comedy club, and I had underage people get served a couple of times, and who looked up. They were 16. They were like, it was like stings. They were like 20 or 19, but looked like they could have been 21 and flashed a fake ID or didn't, came in on the busiest Saturday night to and ordered from the bar so that, so that it was fast. It was busy enough that they could get past the bartender.
Yeah. You're talking about like being in a room that was like dark, literally dark. They're coming in at the end. Like I can see it happening from a waitress who's very busy, but I'm talking about a room where young people, where everybody who isn't a guest, is a person who obviously looks younger. And then you got, on top of that, you got people like, Dershowitz and Clinton and all these guys that are over 40 plus, which again is like, look, there's a point where like, I'll give you a pass if you're dating somebody who's like 17 and you're 26, 25, 26, and you think they told you they're 19, but when you're over 30, and you're still looking at, girls that you have to wonder if or ask for their ID, then there's something wrong with you. There's something really wrong with you. And if you're over 40, you're really screwed up. If you're letting somebody touch you that's even 18 or 19 years old, you're a creep. You're really a creep. There's no I'm not.
No, there's
There's
no
no
way.
oopsie for that one.
I'm just trying to. I guess what I'm looking for is a logical explanation, and there really isn't one.
There isn't.
I guess
And
that's
honestly,
what I'm trying to say.
I would love for it to be for Clinton to be on that list. I can't stand Clinton.
You've never seen-
that
that was my next question for you, and that is this. It was well known, what a hound he was, when he was governor of Arkansas, and all the way through his marriage, and into and through the White House. Do you think he cleaned up his act after Monica Lewinsky? Was that the final humiliation? Was that enough? You
No
don't think he
way.
cleaned up his act? I don't know. I'm just asking your opinion.
We've had Nicole Boxer on this show, and Nicole told me,
Oh, that's right. She was in the family.
Afterwards, she said he never looked at my eyes. He never looked at my eyes. She's just said flat out, he's a masher. He is Mr. Masher. He's on the prowl the second, and he doesn't care. This is Nicole Barbara Boxer's daughter, and
who's married to Hillary's brother.
Right.
Who's married to Hillary's brother at the time.
Yeah, right. And he's still flirting with her, and staring, at her breasts. It's creep. He's a creep. He's always been a creep. He'll always be a creep.
Okay, now that being the case, I'm trying so hard to be careful with this. That being the case, is there? I mean,
should I have been careful? I'd take it back.
You don't have to be. I do. I'm trying to be a good host and a good facilitator and to show all sides and all this kind of stuff. I'm trying to figure out the best way to put this. One of the arguments, like when Tiger Woods got caught, was we had this big national discussion about sex addiction. And when you deal with addiction, and I will say that, I've said this on the podcast, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've got 11 years next week. Since I drank from 16 to 48, I guess, or something. I had a good run. But you have to hit bottom. You have to hit bottom before you say, I can't live like this anymore. And that's it. I'm not going to do this anymore. And with him, if the international humiliation and the scorn of his wife and the disappointment in the looks of the way that his daughter looked at him, and the famous quote that Chelsea saying to him afterwards, that the two things I remember most from that are Chelsea saying, "Daddy, you need to get help." And when they're walking to the helicopter after this, and he tries to hold Hillary's hand, and Hillary's like, "Let go."
You pulled him, Melania.
Don't touch me. If that's not rock bottom, you got to admit that sex addiction is a real thing. If that's not rock bottom, if that's not enough to make you go, you know what, I can't. Look, I just embarrassed my country. I just embarrassed my wife. I just humiliated my wife in front of the world and humiliated my daughter. And if that's not enough to make you go, that I got to do something. I have to live a different kind of life. I can't keep doing that. Then you got to admit there's a disease there. Everybody's quiet. Everybody's quiet. See, nobody takes that seriously.
Yes, I understand, and I do agree. I think I see your point. But there's like two kinds of narcissists, right? So he's like a narcissist who does good things for people, but he's also a narcissist who lacks that shame when it comes to that particular thing. So it's possible that he just found a new way to be like on the down low about it. Do you know what I mean? Not like the down low, like the other kind of down low, but
I know what you mean.
to just be a little more quiet.
How are you going to be on the down low about something?
You become friends with Epstein and you get on his Lolita Express and nobody knows because you go to his private island.
Yeah.
That's how you go on trips to Africa with him and girls are on the plane. So,
it's so reckless. It was reckless. What he did going up to Lewinsky was reckless, but to continue after that, you would still do that
all
after
these
that?
narcissistic men of power who do these reckless things all the time. Like,
because they think that they can't get caught, but once they get caught, then they change.
They think they're entitled to this. They think they're entitled to it. And Trump is the perfect example of someone who is a narcissist, who has no shame, who thinks he's entitled.
Well, he's never been held accountable for
no matter
anything in
who
his
it
life.
hurt. Sorry?
He's literally never been held accountable for anything in his life. Going back to that book with a story about him being 4 and throwing rocks across the street, hitting a 2-year-old. Just to do it. And the 2-year-old's mother comes over to Donald's mother and says, "What he did to my little boy," and she did nothing. She did absolutely nothing about it. He didn't get in trouble, he didn't get grounded, nothing about it. So he's literally never been held accountable for anything that he's ever done ever in his own life. I mean, here's a guy who owes the banks billions of dollars and it files bankruptcy, and he's like, fine, go ahead and discharge it. You're going to lose your billions, or you can let me have more favorable rates and this, that, and the other thing, and maybe you'll get some of your money back. Never held accountable. He's never had his hand slapped. And so
he's just gotten participation trophies his whole life for being a failure.
Yeah, that's it.
And being a menace. And that's
I wonder what it's like to never have been punished before, I mean, I wonder what it's like to never been grounded. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Never being grounded. That's such an interesting idea. I guess you end up seeming like Trump, I guess, right?
Yeah. Or when you the only time you're punished is when you pay to be punished.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We've all been punished. Everybody. I mean, even he. I mean, if he saw, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, he's been. We've all have some way in which we're punished, and when there's something that we're forced to do that's unpleasant.
Yeah.
But no, to never be held accountable. I mean, that's just. But I wondered that the reason I brought that Clinton thing up was I wondered about that. I was wondering if he changed his behavior, and maybe but there's no innocent. If he was on that Lolita Express more than once, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
Wait,
is there a number? Go ahead, Brent.
I'm out of the loop here. Was that thing called the Lolita Express?
Yes.
That was the name of his plane.
Yes.
Why did they name it that? I mean, that's so incriminating.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's baffling.
But I mean, why? But actually, in a way that makes it almost seem like there isn't anything going on. Why would you name it the Lolita Express if it was, or
and
something?
James Mason is the captain.
The what?
James Mason is the captain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't understand why you're so upset.
That's a good impression. Yeah,
that's a great impression.
Peter Sellers is the co-pilot.
14 is the new 36. Everybody knows that. Like another cocktail, please.
But I mean, I don't know. When Kevin Spacey is demanding that the list be released, like it's time for him to. This is his Achilles heel. This is Trump's Achilles heel.
I mean, that's what I thought when I first read that. Even Kevin Spacey saying release the list. Even Kevin Spacey.
Yeah. I just feel like Trump has gotten away with so much stuff at this point. I can't see it. I can't see him.
Because we don't know what it looks like.
I'd like to see it. I mean, I want to see what happens, but I just can't. At this point, I'm convinced that his following is so dedicated that he can do no wrong. It doesn't matter what it is.
But they're already turning. That's the thing.
He could literally be at the Resolute desk, behind the Resolute desk, having a 13-year-old with no panties on, bouncing on his lap while his pants are on in a ball on his ankles, answering questions in our press conference, and no one would bring up the 13-year-old bouncing on his.
You know what? I got to disagree with it. A year ago, I would have said yes. No, well, you would, yes.
Yeah.
A year ago, I would have agreed with you, but not after seeing how they are turning.
It's a single-digit percentage.
But Marjorie Taylor Greene is
our savior.
Was up there at that press conference, like emotional, and then Nancy Mace storming out in tears from the private
Trump right afterwards, who just completely
she backed him.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I didn't hear that part.
No, it was on Ross' story. The quote from her.
She's running for governor.
Yeah, because she was completely saying that Trump, is completely innocent of anything. It had nothing to do with Trump. It's all about these horrible men. And
then why are there 1,000 FBI agents redacting his name?
Well, but Nancy Mace is a creep. Nancy Mace is she's a horrible human being.
Yeah, she is running for governor. I think that people like Nancy Mace in politics and who do those kind of reversals as they
They're
got
called
some,
whores is the word you're
compromise.
looking for.
They got some
Is
compromise on her.
whore is the word you're
Or they-
looking for.
Yeah,
And I don't mean that
they
in
really
the,
promised her something.
I don't mean that in the sexist, the sex worker
Oh, I didn't
way.
take it that way at all.
Okay.
Sometimes you need to call somebody a hoe.
Mhm.
Like somebody, they a hoe, you know they a hoe.
We all know plenty of
You know.
male whores. We're all in comedy. We've all been whores at some point.
Oh yeah.
All
Well,
right,
I
let me
haven't
ask
been
you
a male
this.
whore.
I'm sorry.
I haven't been a male whore. No.
I've
Not a
booked
male
Tracy
whore, okay.
Morgan more than 3 times.
What? Oh, Tracy Morgan.
He's the worst comic in the world. Nice guy. I love Tracy as a person. Holy shit, he's a super nice guy. But unbelievable. You know,
Was that your idea about years ago about opening up a club called the Nice Guy Clubs? All these guys that aren't funny, but they're nice guys. It was just going to be called the Nice Guy Club.
Charlie Murphy's headlining.
There was a comic, and I won't mention his last name. Back in the day when I was starting out, he always wore, you'll know what I'm talking about. Don't say his last name. He always wore a Pittsburgh Pirates hat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That was his trademark. He wore a Pittsburgh Pirates hat. And the joke was that he was so bad that the Pittsburgh Pirates were changing their hat.
Super nice guy though.
Super nice
Speaking
guy.
of that, the breakfast spot near my apartment that I go to all the time is basically Theo Vaughn's office. So,
Oh God.
and I it's so weird because now he just wants me to acknowledge him. So he's always like, "Hi, how are you?" and holding the door open, and I'm just like, just walk in. I don't know why he goes there. One of the owners asks him every day, "How does it feel to be enabling fascism?" And he like rolls up in his cyber truck and he's like, "Ha ha," and sits there with the guy from South Park. And yeah,
no, it's interesting. What's interesting to me is how there are some people who have no shame, and I'll give you a perfect example. On Labor Day or Sunday, I ended up with a day Sunday when I just like sat around and watched trash TV all day. I had nothing to do. I was just exhausted. And Hulu has this, and I'm not sure if it was like Lifestyle or Lifetime or somebody else that did it first, and Hulu's just showing it. And what it is it's scandal stories from Hollywood. And the first episode is Stephen Collins. Remember Stephen Collins from Seventh Heaven and a million other things. All the
Star Trek, the movie,
Star Trek, the motion picture. I mean, there's so many. The Betty Ann Broderick story. I mean, you know, we grew up with him because he was in literally in everything. He was in, you know. Then it comes out. He's going through a horrible divorce from his wife. He was married to the one. I don't know if any of you remember The Greatest American Hero. He was married to the little blonde from The Greatest American Hero, and they were married like 30 years or something. And they were going through a contentious divorce and they were in marriage counseling, and she secretly recorded him. She secretly recorded the session and got him in the session to admit that in the 70s, this is about 15 years ago that this happened. So this is the early 2000s. And she gets him to admit that in the 70s, in the 80s, and in the 90s, on at least 3 occasions, he had 3 young girls touch his naked penis, or walked in front of him and had him touch his naked penis and get him off. One of them, who was 10. And so he claims later that she then said, "Aha, I have the tape. You give me what I want, and I'm going to release it." And she just said, "No, she had to do the right thing," is what she says. And so the young girls came forward, and of course, once the tapes are out, everything just absolutely implodes. Because again, this is a guy that for 11 years played a minister and they called him America's dad. The 2 guys that called America's dad, him and Cosby, were America's dads. And him and they were the ones that you come in, son, for a good talking to,
If you're an actor, they're like, "You're going to be America's dad." No, I am not.
And so it was all past the statute of limitations. They say the case is still open because these guys don't do this to 3 girls.
Yeah.
Pedophiles. It's with 3 girls, and he felt really badly about it, and he apologized, and he gave Barbara Walters an interview, and in the interview, Katie Couric, the interview he gave her was just it was a damage control. Watch it if you get a chance. It's the first one.
But in his
he
defense, he did say that the 10-year-old girl said she was 14.
Yeah, well, almost, because what he said is, okay, well, the first one, yes, I did have the woman touch me, and it's like she's 10. What do you mean
Yeah.
I had the woman?
Woman.
So the point of this whole thing is, of course, he was supposed to be on Scandal. That got canceled. He had 2 movies lined up. They got canceled. He has not worked since, and he's a guy who's worked for 40 years, consistently worked. And the point of all this is how they end this is that he was like a regular guy. He drove like a Prius and came, he could have, had enough money to dress however he wanted, the finest clothes and Jaguars on, and he didn't. He drove like a Prius and wore like jean jackets and all that kind of stuff. And the way they close it is him going out to dinner. And the valet, thank you, thanks very much for coming in, and the whole thing. And whereas they said most people after that would be in hiding. You wouldn't be going out to dinner in a restaurant in Sunset. If I were sitting down having dinner and somebody seated Stephen Collins next to me, I would ask for a check and I would leave. But the fact that there is no shame behind the fact that you had one was 10, one was 12, and I think one might have been 13, and those are just the 3 we know about.
No, the truth about people like that and Trump and other horrible people, Clinton included, is that they're not the monsters in their story. In the story in their head, they're not the villain. Nobody is ever the villain in their piece. Everybody has a good reason to do the awful thing that they just did. They'll lie to themselves. They'll not do any deep dive. They'll not go to therapy. They'll not try to figure it out. Because what they've convinced themselves of is the thing I'm doing is not a bad thing. They've made excuses that they can live with it. So otherwise, if they had if they were a normal person, they would feel horrible and have incredible shame and seek help. Well,
he claims he did all those things, and in fact, one of the victims who talked when she first met him, she was 12, and she lived like somewhere in the Midwest, and that, in fact, by the way, was the common denominators that all those and they say this is common with people like this in like Hollywood and places, is they find the girl who's out vacationing from Kansas because they know they're not going to bump into her anywhere. They know that chances are she's not going to quote unquote be anybody that's going to cause him any trouble. So her aunt did something in Hollywood production, and she lived next door to Stephen Collins, and she was a big fan of Stephen Collins. He was doing the show called Tales of the Gold Monkey or something like that. It was like an Indiana Jones ripoff. And so, and then, he, befriends, he's a groomer. You can tell he's a groomer. Give it signed pictures and helps her put her Xbox together. Then one day, she asks him to help fix a controller or something. And he has her come over to his apartment and starts walking around naked in front of her. So flash forward, she never came back after that. Flash forward 20 years later, and she's now working in production. And she's doing one of those deals where they do these satellite interviews, where like you're promoting a movie or something, and they have, you sit down for 5 minutes, you talk to whoever the satellite person is, and then you get up and the next person sits. And Stephen Collins sits down, and she hasn't seen him since, in that 20 years since he walked in front of her naked, and she's like 13. And afterwards, he says to her, "I'm really sorry about what I did to you." He says this to her, because she doesn't know if he recognizes her or not, because it's been 20 years and she hadn't seen him since, and he never touched her, but that's bad enough. And he said it was really horrible, unfair, and I hope you can forgive me. And he was really, and she goes, looking back at it now, I don't know if it was empathy or if it was damage control. that what it was he was doing. So he claims to be really contrite and really empathetic for having done the things that he admits in his own voice that he did.
Not to be cynical, but it sounds like he possibly could have been like one of those frugal guys. I'm going to drive a Prius. I'm not going to drive a Jaguar. I'm going to live in this kind of house, not the one I can afford, because at some point the shit's going to hit the fan. I'm going to need some money. Not to be cynical about it, but
no, that's cynical. It's probably true. It's cynical, and it's probably true. Oh my goodness! So yeah, there's so much. I guess the point of this podcast is there's a lot of evil shit in the world.
Yeah.
I guess that's really what it boils down to when you think about it, and how you really don't know anyone. There's a lot of really evil shit.
Nobody's really evil. They're just because they're not aware of it, right? So that it's like almost like just people are just demented, right? Or they just kind of have mental issues that they don't. I guess is there anyone who just is pure? Actually evil, that they have.
I think we mentioned Sam Kinison.
Hitler.
Stephen Miller.
Hitler. Yeah.
I mean, it's modern day.
Yeah.
He's going to talk today. Today, like right now, I'm going to say Curtis Yarvin, Stephen Miller, Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance, Elon Musk, Donald J. Trump, his kids.
I wouldn't say Vance is evil. I would say Vance is soulless. Vance is whatever Vance needs to be in that moment. I don't know that I would call that evil. Evil, there has to be
a chance to be evil before we jump on the gun on that.
Did you see? I'm watching Facebook from the Facebook the other day, and it comes up on just in my feed in the reel. There's a clip from, and I've got to see the special. It's apparently a recent Dana Gould special. Dana, who's done the podcast before, and he talks about, he goes, Adolf Hitler, do you know the bit? The very definition of evil is in a bunker, and he marries Ava Braun, and the next day he puts a gun to his head and blows his brains out.
That's
because
evil.
Marriage is hard. Because marriage is hard. And then he goes, Charles Manson, also the definition of evil. Manson actually had a woman who was engaged. And that was Stephen Collins. Stephen Collins is remarried, by the way. Yeah. He's married. And again, that's what, okay, yeah. Some woman's married him. So
married him.
That's somebody who believes him. That's who married him. So some woman married Manson, and Manson had stage 4 lung cancer, I guess it was dying. And this was a till death do you part commitment. And the day before he changed his mind.
That bitch is crazy. How do you know she's crazy? Well, she wants to marry me.
Oh gosh, Dana's twisted, brilliantly twisted. I might add. Yeah. Let me end with this. Because we're just about out of time. Actually, there's 2 things I want to mention. So we'll do these 2 things quickly. Adam Kinzinger, former Republican congressman, one of the 2 with a conscience, him and Liz Cheney. I never thought Liz Cheney would be a hero of mine. 10 years ago, I'd have said you're in crack if you said I'd ever admire Liz Cheney. He says that we're looking at the beginning of the end. That's what he says. And he says that 10 years from now, you're going to have most MAGA denying that they ever voted for Trump, and those who don't deny it will be saying, I didn't know. I had no idea. I didn't know.
Well, they're saying they don't know now.
Yeah, they are.
They're saying it now. I didn't know. I had no idea. Even though we were like, hey, Project 2025, I read that bitch. Let me tell you what's in it. And they're like, no, he could never. He said he didn't. They're saying it now. I didn't know. I didn't know he was going to do this. I know someone whose family owned private prisons, and they are a lobbyist now for private prisons and are struggling with their conscience because they're seeing what's happening in these ICE detention centers. And they're like, I didn't know. And I'm like, your family owned private prisons. So yes, you did. That excuse is not valid to me.
Yeah. Because
people were screaming it from the mountaintops. And for them, racism was more important. Racism and money were more important than morality and democracy. So they can say they don't know, but I'm going to call them out.
Well, I guess the analogy that he's making is what a lot of Germans said after World War II.
Yeah.
Is that I supported the Nazi Party, but I didn't know they were the Nazi Party. I mean, we didn't know about this. We didn't know about that. We didn't know it was going to be as bad as all that. We thought it was they were being hyperbolic.
You had Eric Swalwell. You did an interview with him, and I've heard this from a number of people that we're just concentrating on winning the midterms, because if we don't, there won't be a country if we don't.
That's what he said. That's right. This will be the last election. He said if we don't.
I mean, are there going to be 2026 elections? That's what I'm wondering. Because he is trying everything in that playbook to prevent elections, right?
Well, they're gerrymandering it, five seats for him in Texas, and we're doing it in California, and some Republican group, and if you get the mailer, I'm going to tell you this: if you live in the state of California,
I saw the mailer.
If you get a mailer from anybody telling you not to vote for this. Okay, look it up, Google it, go to chat, find out who the group is, and I guarantee you it is a Republican group. The one that I got was a woman who was the head of the Republican Party in some city, who's not yelling and screaming about democracy with Texas. But the Republicans are planning to put $100 million into the coffers to fight it. Yeah. Now, if this is so bad, why didn't you put $100 million into fighting Greg Abbott's, attempted? Yeah, not attempted. It's a done deal. It's a fait accompli there. So just know this: if anybody's sending you anything in the mail saying vote against this, they're basically telling you to end democracy and end free elections in this country, as you know. That's really what
I don't have to worry about that. I'm in Tennessee, where the guy running for Congress on the Republican Party tried to push through a child bride law, and it almost passed. So there's that.
Really?
Define child bride.
Yeah. How old?
Child bride. Yeah.
I think it's down to like 12 or something. Yeah.
Well, Kansas was 12 for a long time.
About it making it legal for first cousins to marry. Yeah.
You mean it's not?
Awesome. And he's running for Congress because my congressman resigned because he got caught getting his mistress pregnant. So he had to step down. He decided to step down.
How do you get caught?
I have no congressperson right now. I have no one to call and yell at in Congress.
That's funny.
Remember how quaint it was? Remember how quaint it was when guys would lose their seats for knocking up somebody who wasn't their wife? Remember how quaint that was?
Mm-hmm.
Remember what they used to say, that the only thing that could get you kicked out of a race is to be caught with a dead girl or a live boy. Yeah. And remember those quaint days?
Yeah, those are cute.
Yeah. Well, he had to step down because he tried to get her to terminate the pregnancy, apparently. And, you can't be a MAGA Republican and have a mistress that,
But the thing I love about that was it the Republican convention that where Tinder crashed twice?
Grinder
crashed twice.
I didn't see this story.
You didn't know that?
No. What's the story?
They call CPAC the Super Bowl of grinders because Grindr crashes in whatever city they have the CPAC conference in.
Stop it. Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
that's hilarious. Yeah. All right, so we'll end with this. I saw this shortly before we began recording today. The Surgeon General of the state of Florida, Joseph Ladapo, who is a black man. I'm mentioning it because it is germane to the story. He is pushing to end all vaccine mandates for children going to school in the state of Florida. The reason why I mention he is a black man is because he likens vaccine mandates to slavery. He says forcing a kid to be inoculated before sending a kid to school to be around your children is the same as slavery. And among other things that his other big hit is he's been running around Florida trying to get municipalities to stop fluoridating their water, to stop putting fluoride in the water. So, I mean, I wonder, I look at Disney World And it's like, well, first of all, just all the crap that goes on, and it's been going on in Florida and everything else. When you throw the fact you're going to have a bunch of kids running around with, polio and whooping cough and measles, I wouldn't go near Florida with a 10-foot pole. But then you think about Disney World, where you got kids coming there from all over the world who are going to be exposed to kids who live there who have not been vaccinated and who could potentially be carriers or transmitters of diseases that should be dead, diseases that should no longer exist. I mean, you can pay me to go to Disney World right now if that's what it is that they're going to do. And I'm surprised with all of the money and all of the power that the Disney Corporation, I mean, they're one of the biggest employers in the state of Florida. Why aren't they using their muscle more? They're one of the biggest employers of the world.
They already had Governor Ron has already cost them money. He's already been messing with them just for standing up for gay rights. So he's a creep. And you know what?
But they're stronger than he's not stronger than Disney.
But see, dude, here's the thing. Florida is getting crushed right now because of their tourist industry is collapsing. They have their housing is collapsing because nobody will insure their shitty Florida homes, and there'll be a hurricane next month for sure.
Yep.
And
there's no FEMA to help them.
There's no more FEMA to help them. No one Canada was one of their biggest clients as far as tourism and snowbirds. They've left. They are getting crushed in tourism. This kind of shit, with doing this kind of shit, just means more and more tourism dollars will not be into Florida. That state's going to collapse financially. There's about 10 states that are on the verge of collapsing financially.
I live in one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Governor Kinky Boots has already made his money off of alligator Alcatraz. I don't think he cares about, the people of Florida. I don't think he ever did. I think this is the way aren't he and his wife caught up in like a scandal?
There's some pay-for-play thing.
So I don't think he cares. No. He doesn't care. And follow
he thought he was going to be
I wonder if this state surgeon general has investments in things like ivermectin or companies that make ivermectin. Do you know what I mean? Like I would there's always a grift. We just have to figure out what the grift is.
Because I don't understand anti-vaxxers. I mean, I got my flu shot yesterday. And I said, okay, am I up to date on COVID? They go, yeah, as of the latest one. And I said, okay, well, when's the next, booster coming? We're coming into the fall. We're coming into a time when the next variant will be out. And they go, we don't know. CVS told we don't know. Sometime in the next couple of months.
Yeah, because Secretary Brainworm has changed the mandate. So unless you have an underlying condition and your doctor recommends it, you have to be over 65 to get the booster.
But even more so than that, and even in that case, two things here. First of all, you got to go to the doctor to get a prescription for it, which means you got to have insurance in order to go to the doctor to get a prescription. And secondly, they are doing everything they can out of his office to discourage doctors from prescribing the vaccine. Now, if you don't want to take the vaccine, if you're an idiot and you don't want to take a COVID vaccine, that's entirely up to you. But how dare you tell me that I can't protect myself and my family?
Yeah.
I'm around little kids. I got a little granddaughter, and I got another little granddaughter on the way. And I do not want to be, I don't want to be unvaccinated around them, especially not with, with immunity. And it scares me. She's getting ready to go to preschool. And I'm wondering, well, California's different. Parts of California, no offense, but Marin, there are a lot of anti-vaxxers in Marin.
I know a lot of anti-vaxxers.
Yeah, but they're the kind and good anti-vaxxers.
How are they good? They're educated people.
I know.
They should know better.
Yeah,
they should know better.
Jenny McCarthy, good. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, they're the liberal. They're the liberal anti-vaxxers. I know. I unfriended a couple of them. I've lost a couple of friends.
I don't know, but there's currently the measles outbreak is still ongoing, and we're just not getting the numbers from it. But apparently, there are more and more unvaccinated children who are getting measles. a disease that should have been eradicated in the U.S.
That was practically eradicated.
It's weird because vaccines are just a classic thing. I mean, that this is just like you remember in the 50s, people were getting
No, I don't.
vaccinated in high school. I mean, I don't know.
How do you think I am? No, I do not remember the 50s.
I thought people wanted to go back to the way things were. You know what I mean? Like
when America was great,
we got vaccinated. That's a classic thing.
Or like
Yeah.
the cootie shot.
Yeah.
Well,
You guys do cootie shots?
I will ask her. I will ask everybody who happens to be listening, who happens to be over the age of, no, who happens to be under the age of 60. If you know someone who is 70, 80 years old, take a minute and ask them if they knew anybody when they were a kid who had polio or who was in an iron lung, and let him tell you the stories, and let him tell you what the climate and the climate of fear was like at the time, knowing that anybody could get polio, that there's no cure for it whatsoever, that you could be a football star one day and then be in a wheelchair. Hell, you could be president of the United States and then end up in a wheelchair for the rest of your life, and then you've got this fool, this heroin addict who, and that's what really tickles me. This fact, this man was a heroin addict apparently for years, but he's running around trying to get people not to put needles in their arm. He's running around trying to get people not to put needles in their arm. So
14 years. 14 years he did it. He did it for 14 years.
14 years. And
that's what he said in an interview.
Wait. It was actually 13 3/4 of a year. So
I interviewed him. I spent a morning and an afternoon with him once probably about 10 or 12 years ago. He was, and this is before whatever the vocal situation was he had going on. And he was actually being more like his dad. He was running around trying to bring attention to the plight of the people who lived in Appalachia. Just the extreme poverty and the lack of resources and medicine and all of that kind of stuff. And how he goes from that to, just touting these discredited studies, with no medical knowledge, no medical education, no medical experience whatsoever. And the fact that people are listening to him and he's setting policy for all of us. I mean, and I can't speak for you, but it scares the shit out of me. It really does. I mean,
Yeah.
I just look at it. Well, we got 2 more years, and if we don't fix it, we're totally fucked. And because it's going to be, after that, it's going to be every man for himself.
It's not 2 more years. We have
a year and a half.
We have until November of next year.
Yeah.
And if
I don't even think we have until November of next year. I think something needs to happen in the next 6 months, or where democracy is completely done.
I mean, the only thing we got going for us is that these guys are so incompetent and so disorganized that they are something really, really, really bad is going to happen, where a white kid gets shot by ICE.
And that's what it'll take. That's what it'll take.
Yeah. Well, it's not like, they're, because of who they're hiring, it's almost likely to happen, not unlikely to happen.
I take it back, Tom. That's not going to make a difference, because if all of those cute little white kids getting shot at Sandy Hook didn't change one mind about common sense, gun reform, then
we're not talking about common sense gun reform. We're talking about ICE.
No. I'm talking about whether or not the victim
white Europeans who died in ICE detention centers.
Oh, plus,
they're not just detaining Latino people. There have been like 2 Ethiopian guys died. I think there was a German guy who died. There was a guy who was, I forgot what other country, some country in Europe. So there's been, and then one woman who almost died. So there's been they've been going after the white people too.
Let me put it this way: when everybody's when people in the South ho-hos go up $4 a box, then the shit's going to hit the fan.
Well, they already are here.
Yeah.
A bag of groceries that used to cost me $50 now costs me $124.
Yeah, it sounds like me.
Yeah, well,
that sounds all right.
yeah, I'm just saying, look, Fox News can keep telling people everything's groovy and okay every day of the week. But if somebody behind you, you're in your recliner and they keep hitting you in the back of the head with a frying pan, eventually that's going to tone out the TV.
Mm-hmm.
The pain is you're not going to hear the guy telling you everything's all right when the back of your head's being crushed. So at some point something's going to give, and we're seeing it in dribs and drabs. There's a lot of fuck around and find outs out there. People posting stuff on TikTok. I got this, and then Trump, and then I voted for Trump, and blah 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 blah. There's going to be a lot more of that, and we haven't really even seen like the real bottom hit yet. The thing that economists are warning us about, and we're about 3 or 4 months away from that. So good luck saying.
Good luck, everybody. Good luck
saying it's Biden's fault.
We're out of time for the podcast. Hopefully, we're not out of time altogether. But we are on time for the podcast. Brent, anything you want to plug? Anything you want to mention?
I have a comedy special on YouTube called Popular Culture.
Yay, that's cool.
Very cool. Okay. Yayne, anything you want to mention?
I'm here.
Okay.
Follow me on all the social media platforms. Check out my videos on this channel, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us.
And thank you for sitting in for me. I appreciate it. Yeah, do it. And Tom, your documentary on Cobb's Comedy Club is still available.
The Comedy Club. It's on Amazon Prime. Want to see Bob Saget? He opened the club, and when the last location we're at, Cobb's is at currently. It's a great documentary. Prime, Tubi, Slushy. Oopsie. It's on you can upload the Excuse Me app and watch it there.
You can subscribe and get a 7-Eleven trading cup, baseball trading cup along with it. Just one thing I keep forgetting to mention, because I have a lot of my former radio listeners from terrestrial radio who watch and listen to the podcast. I keep forgetting to mention this. Last month, I was voted into the Bay Area Radio Hall of Fame, and so I'll be inducted in October. So I'm in the Bay Area Radio Hall of Fame. So I'll still pretend like I know you people.
And because that, you get a lifetime 10% off at Subway.
Oh, 10? It's up to 10. It's only 5.
10%.
It's only 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you hear from Jared?
Only
Anything?
10.
Anything from Jared? Anything at all?
No.
Yeah, he's just been hanging out with on Epstein Island. That's what I heard.
Man, wasn't that creepy?
He's still there waiting for the plane to come back.
The plane. All right, Tom Sawyer, Brent Weinbach. I said your name. Why did I say your name wrong? Weinbach, forgive me. Yayne Abeba. A pleasure having everybody. I will check you out next week. If you like what it is that you either watch here on YouTube or you listen to through one of the audio podcast providers, if you're listening to us, please go to your provider and leave us a 5-star review, because it helps people to find the show. Tell all your friends what it is that we're doing here. Send them the link. Tell them to check it out. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like us. Please, well, don't just like us. I want you to like us, but like us and subscribe. Like us and subscribe, because I'm looking very much forward to being able to do this live, so that we can get your comments interjected with our own. So I'll check you out next week. Until then, be kind to your neighbor. He knows where you live.